Hey guys, what's going on? This is Matt Wenning at winningstrength.com. And unfortunately, we have another terrible video that we're going to show you here now. And it's someone else dying while squatting. So please subscribe, like, and then comment on some things that you think could have prevented this from happening while I talk about what I think could have prevented this from happening. Before we get to the video, it sucks to see something so tragic happen, especially to someone so young and with such little experience in squatting. And it also goes to show you that the quality of your spotters and the experience level in which you need to squat outside of having safety pins needs to be extremely high, or just in my case, I would say hardly ever done at all. Now, back in our old days when we were doing big 1,000, 1,100, and 1,200 pound squats, there were a lot of times that we didn't have spotters. We didn't have catchers. We didn't have the things that could have been done pretty easy. I had actually watched a person at the 2006 APF Senior Nationals was trying a 1,000-pound squat right before I tried a 1,000-pound squat, and took off a couple of people's fingers and scalped the top of his head while dumping the bar, this could have easily happened to them. So let's get to this video and watch what we can see.
A 17-year-old weightlifter, Yastika Acharya, died in Bikaner, Rajasthan, while attempting to lift 270 kilograms in a gym. The weightlifting rod slipped from her hands and fell on her neck, causing her...
So my first question is, in this picture, is why are we carrying the bar so high on our neck? This tells me that the experience of the coaches and herself is not very high. A good position for the bar to be on your back is slightly below the trap and above the rear delt. We call this the squatting shelf. Now, we do use high bar squats, especially in some of our apps and things of that nature to do, but we don't do necessarily max effort work with it. I think some of this could have been avoided in this particular aspect of carrying the bar a little bit lower and having the rack set properly, which is the most important thing in this particular part of the video. You can see that she has to come up on her toes to walk out, which in case throws her balance off. So when you set your racks, always make sure that you set them that you have to bend your knees and push your hips back slightly to pick up the bar. So carrying the bar in the right position, in my opinion, and also having the rack set up at the right height are two major factors that could have avoided this to be a big problem. The next factor that may be a huge issue, and not in a lot of other people's eyes, but I've been competed and broke world records raw and equipped and even in single ply, which it appears this is what this particular environment is that why do we have a 17-year-old in a squat suit in knee wraps? Now, for those of you that have never used a very tight knee wrap, I can tell you that it messes with your balance significantly. I walked out 826 in the USAPL drug tested, and let me tell you, wearing very tight knee wraps is very, very difficult to coordinate when you got extreme loads like she did on her back. Again, I think this is where the equipment actually magnifies the problem because your legs are so stiff from the knee wrap that it actually causes a balance issue. One of the other major factors that I think is important is to always respect the weight. Although with 3 spotters and this girl being a fairly heavier person, what you start to find is that sometimes we get so accustomed to lifting weights that we may feel are easy or not that hard for us. It only takes a split second for those weights to fall and magnify. For instance, if we're doing depth jumps, which I just got off a phone consult with a client today, his daughter was having a knee ACL reconstruction, and the physical therapists were already putting her into plyometric inbounding. This is called virtual force. So once that type of weight starts to fall, it no longer weighs what it weighs on the bar. It weighs way more. And even with 3 spotters, sometimes 200, 300, or 400 pounds can get way out of whack really, really fast. Now imagine 6, 7, 8, 900, 1,000 pounds. It's impressive what the human body is capable of. But the problem is when we start to utilize maximal effort training, we have to also maximize our thought process and our safety parameters. One of the biggest ways that this could have been avoided would have been to do it inside a squat rack or safety hooks or safety chains. This is a huge factor, and one of the other videos that we made on another guy dying was squatting outside of the rack. We like to use somewhere around 3/8 or a 1/2 inch chain that go around the top of the rack that can sway and move and be completely adjusted to stay out of your way while you're lifting, but also are there in case the bar decides it wants to go to the ground. Now notice what I said. The bar going to the ground is usually the reason why somebody gets injured or dies. If that bar would have stopped 2 inches below parallel on depth, it wouldn't have broke her neck. But because she fell backwards, sat down, then the bar came over with it already high on her back, there's not much you can do with your cervical spine when the pressure like that is that abrupt and that heavy. So unfortunately, this video is not a happy video, but hopefully it's a video that we can learn from, we can study, and we can realize. Now on another note, and again, this is probably going to get a lot of flack, I don't understand people, especially in the beginning levels, using elevated shoes for squatting. Elevated shoes for squatting, especially Olympic lifting shoes, tend to not have a lot of give to go to the toe. They tend to be very, very stiff and not want to bend very well. This is difficult if you come up on your toes because now your foot is not going to feel very stable in those shoes. How do I know? I've trained in Olympic shoes very, very long time. I've used them for a lot of different shit, mostly for bench pressing, but there was a time when I experimented with the elevated heel shoes as well. And they're just not as forgiving as a flat sole shoe, which again may have fixed the problem, because if she was flat heeled, she may not have taken the rack out that high and she would have been able to maintain her balance. So I'm not saying that elevated heel shoes are necessarily a bad thing. I know that we need them for cleans. I know that we need them for snatches. I know that we need them for some Olympic lifting, and hell, we even may need them for some other types of training modalities, for Bulgarian squats, narrow stand squats. But when you're taking maximal weights with a high bar and you're already on an elevated heel, it already wants to crush you forward. And I think that may have accelerated the problem a little bit more than should have been. So this is Matt Wenning at winningstrength.com. And because this is such a tragic event, please message us on the website and have us take a look at how you're setting up your squatting in your rack or at home or at a monolift, and let us check and make sure that it's safe for you. We would be more than willing to do that and help. And I hope that people start to learn that squatting outside of safety pins and safety straps is not a good idea, especially this young and especially at this experience level. You can just see there's a lot of things going wrong here. So powerlifting can be fun, but it can be extremely dangerous, especially when you push the limits too fast. So talk to you guys soon.